ठीक है, तो आज का पहला टॉपिक वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स ऑफ पर्सनालिटी एंड सब पर्सनालिटी. Okay, now as we have been studying in our personality theories, we are always talked about personality is a host of traits, right, that we exhibit. But when your client is coming into the clinic, they are going to show you a part of their personality. They won't be showing the whole of their self, right? वो अपना पूरा पूरा जो है हर एक ट्रेट को आपको सामने नहीं खोलते हैं. In fact, as you are taking the case history, you will see glimpses of them. But there are times the personality that you need to work on. Okay, the personality that may be the one who's holding a lot of potential or resisting expressing the potential is the one that needs to be your focus, right? Most of the time when your client comes with issues of procrastination, people who are not able to fulfill their potential, or like they are not able to come out of their neurotic states, anxiety chal raha hai, panic ho raha hai, theek hai. There are also traumatic states and significant life events that have impacted them, and in those cases we do not deal with a personality, we deal with a sub personality. And in this video I'm going to talk about how Jung has talked about personality, although he calls it a sub personality. Okay, and others psychologists have given it a term called complex. So you have already you may be quite acquainted with inferiority complex, superiority complex, Electra complex, Oedipus complex, right? So what is a complex and how? अब तो पढ़ तो लिए हम लोग, है ना? We have read about it quite profusely. The information is available. But when a client comes in, what are we going to do about the complex? How does a complex look like when a client comes into our clinic? How do we interact with complexes? Do we have complexes, and how our complexes interact with others? This is what this whole video is about. Now, what a complex? A complex is a host of behaviors. Okay, there are a lot of behaviors exhibited by whoever is in the center. Whoever is in the center is not ego. Remember, in Jung's method, in Jung's and Freudian idea as well, we believe that the ego is the balancing or the regulating center, and it balances the id and the superego. According to Jung, the ego is the one who's driving everything, right? The one who is the vehicle of the consciousness. It is trying to allow all the drives and urges and desires to come through, but the ego is the one who's governing most of the things. Okay, but complex is something that overrides ego. A complex is a set of behavior. These behaviors are molded, strategized because of a significant event or a past experience. Okay, and these complex are supposed to act independently. They act independently of the ego. So sometimes when a client comes into your clinic and they may be telling you how overwhelming a particular behavior of theirs is, like a classic example of obsessive compulsive disorder, there is a complex sitting that wants to pull the hair, and that there definitely is an agenda behind pulling the hair, right? There is a definitely an agenda of the particular whoever is sitting in the center of this particular drive. It's not a drive, of course, the center, the behavior to keep on washing the hand, to keep on checking if the lock is properly locked or not. So these are complexes, and they override the ego, because your client is coming and complaining, I don't know how it happens that there's a obsession and compulsion. In other ways, in cases of neurosis also, there is some there is some overwhelming desire, something overwhelming the ego consciousness, right? I don't think I will be able to cross the road, so I won't go and cross the road. I don't think I will be able to go up in the stage and sing my piece. Okay, there is some energy, some set of behaviors are consistently overriding the ego. That's how the complex is. But in the center of the complex is always an archetype, according to Jung. Now, what is an archetype? An archetype is an energy that is associating itself with some collective unconscious. Like there is one archetype of a hero archetype. Imagine there is a person who has a lot of issues in their feet, or someone who is crippled, or someone who has had been through some kind of an accident, okay? But there is a complex that is acting within them. That's this complex is of a hero, of a warrior. Now this person will exhibit and talk as if this person is a warrior, but how they are really feeling, how the ego is really feeling, is that of a crippled person, a person who is handicapped in one or the other way, not able to, there will be a helplessness. But inside, the client is associating themselves with an archetype, and they will be interested in watching a lot of superhero movies, okay? There may be others who are carrying some different kind of an archetype. What another archetype can be of a mother archetype. They're extremely nurturing inside, but what they are showing up to the world, or how they are feeling inside in the ego consciousness, is very different to the mother archetype, okay? Now, as I said, a complex is governed by an archetype. What happens when a person is not able to, when the ego is not able to deal with what is happening in the environment, these complexes, they come up and they override the ego consciousness, and they're going to act it out. They're going to do something about it because they have an agenda. So there used to be a client who, anytime this person would secure a particular amount, okay, like quite a good amount, okay, what would happen, the next section, the next moment, they would encounter an accident, okay? Why would the accident happen? Because there is a group, a complex there sitting and telling, no, you cannot have that amount of money, you cannot have that particular achievement in your life. So they will make him fall. And where is this complex coming from? If we dig into this complex always comes from a past event, an event where the child who went out, you know went out and sang his piece on a stage, okay? Now, when he comes back and shows this mother, I sang and I got this particular prize. The mother is like, why were you going and wasting your time up singing? Do you think you will become a singer? Does singing give you a good amount? Will it give you the stature that I want you to have? No, right? So that entire emotion, the frustration, the emotion, lack of appreciation, the whole energy started to, this was a very significant event in the life of this client. So that particular whole energy did not get expressed, and now that particular energy is now acting like a complex. So every single time, all the failures of his life, all the time he could not get any appreciation from his mother or from anyone, okay, that whole thing contributed to creating of this complex. So every time he goes, he's just recreating the entire story, right? Every time he goes and achieves something, this complex overrides his ego and makes him fall down. Now, sometimes these complexes are not ours. Your client may have picked this complex from their father by only being observant, by only witnessing something. So, complexes are contagious in nature. Okay, like for example, this is a child who goes to a university and there he is getting bullied. Okay, he is not someone who will get bullied, but now he is getting bullied. He comes back home after 4 years or 7 years. He comes back home and he's sitting. He has already made peace with that particular piece of his life, that state of his life where he was bullied, and he overcame that. He processed his rage and anger and frustration. He worked on his body and mind. He's back at home, right? And someday he's sitting and just having a discussion with his father, and the father is telling his story, how he got bullied in his office. And that's where the client is resonating. Oh my god, I went through the same. So, as children, okay, we also inherit. It's not about inheritance, it is about we also absorb the stories of our parents consciously or unconsciously. And this unconscious, remember, archetypal energy and this complex is very unconscious. That is why it is able to override our ego, because our ego is very conscious entity, right? But unconscious is 6,000 times powerful, and it is going to overpower the ego consciousness. And what are complexes? Like from the example I gave you, can you notice complexes are merely stories? We are trying to play it out over and over again. The story of the father, the child would play it out. The story of the past, we are again playing out. So it is, the complexes are like stories. Sometimes, as a psychologist, it may happen as you are sitting and listening to your client may be talking about something like, um, so my spouse and I had a fight, and I did this, and he did it its return, and there are so many emotions that you are just listening to, right? Suddenly, an unconscious part of you, we have no idea what unconscious part it is, right? Unconscious part of you is waiting and resonating with that particular story. Remember, I am saying it is unconscious. This unconscious is coming from a past, right? Unconscious material are past materials, okay? So this past may be yours, maybe your parents, maybe your grandparents, we have no idea, because this collective unconscious is unconscious of a lot of people. It is ours, it is our cultures, it is the people who have been, in this culture, our ancestors, things that we have now, because of this internet and everything, we are picking up a lot of stories, and we have no idea whose story we are playing out, just because we absorbed it unconsciously, right? So now the story is going to get played out, and you don't know why you went home and then you suddenly had a fight with your spouse. You went through the similar emotions your client has been talking about, 7 days back. So you have no idea. That's how powerful complexes are. And these complexes will show up as resistance, things that feel alien to you. Sometimes my clients even tell, they say that, there has been some black magic, you know on them, because they know this is not me, this is not me who is doing it, something else is overpowering me. Okay. Sometimes people will tell, I don't know, I was possessed. So the complex, when it overrides the ego, it actually feels like possession. I'm going to give you a very different example that many of us will resonate, in fact. You are sitting and you're quite aware you're supposed to go and eat, and you go and eat. Okay, you have your meal, and as you are having this meal, a lot of things are happening in the back of your head, a lot of thoughts are happening, I have to do this, that, and the scheduling and all the procedure is happening in your head. Okay. And suddenly you notice that you are eating very fast, very fast. You are not eating for the sake of filling your belly, or to fill up, to satisfy a particular desire of yours, that I want to taste this particular thing. You are just eating, right? These eating disorders are also part of some of the other complexes. In fact, when there is perfectionism in the family, when the child is consistently asked to you know fulfill a particular expectation of the mother or the father, the society, whatever it is, or the role they have been born into, like when you are the eldest one in the family, you have a set of duties and you're supposed to go with it, you're supposed to fulfill those duties. So now the child who the person who is interested in enjoying a particular meal is no more in into this meal. The person is just thinking of how to fulfill that duty. That role is overpowering onto them, right? So they're eating and eating. So more of the binge eating and compulsive eating, these are all drives. Remember one thing I say, if even in therapy, okay, if you are not able to resolve a particular issue, you have to first cross check, is it your issue or not? Because complexes are contagious, because the issues of someone else, your body won't be able to resolve it. Remember, your body will only be able to take accountability of your emotions, your desires, and your approach to life. It won't be able to digest someone else's way, and it will always show up some extra charge, some extra somatic charge, some extra behavior that does not look aligned to you, that does not feel like yours. Okay. You will be carrying that. You can act like a carrier, but you will exhibit all those things, but you will never resonate with it. Okay. People will able to look at you and know, okay, yes, this person is not someone like this, but I don't know why he's or she is doing this way, acting this way. Okay. Now these are complexes, and according to Jung, these complexes are will show up as sub personality. A sub personality is in fact a part of the client who could not adhere to their own authentic self, could not express their authenticity, could not act on their desires and feelings, express it. So what happens, they are very angry, they are frustrated, and then they take a very stiff decision. Okay, I won't do this. And in that moment of decision, what happens, they allow the unconscious material to override them. Remember, unconscious will always overwhelm or override when the client is losing the grip on the reality. Why will a client lose the grip on the reality? Because the reality is too much to handle. That's when the unconscious will come in. So when a client comes in and a client is telling you a lot of things, like most of the time I ask my client, okay, you have told me your entire story, I have understood a lot of things, now tell me, what do you expect from this particular session? So they will tell me, I want to be able to eat, or I want to be able to achieve this goal. So now we sit down and try to understand what is stopping you from achieving this goal. And that's when what happens, the sub personality comes up, because there is a desire to achieve this goal, but there is a resistance. So what I'm saying is, a complex can always look like a, most of the time it will look like a resisting factor. Okay, some of the time, as I said, the complexes have an agenda, so they will show themselves up uh, the vital or significant moments of your life. Like there was one client who would go for interviews. Okay, there are interviews happening, he's okay with giving the interview, and in the middle of the interview suddenly there will be a change in his tone of voice, there will be a different posture in his voice, and he would purposefully botch up that particular interview, so that in a way that whoever is interviewing this person will have a significant displeasure. He would say something, he will put a remark, he will do something very unconsciously. Okay, and that will lose that particular job interview. He would come home sitting, oh, I don't know why I did that. Okay, so some of the times these sub personalities are having an agenda, and not always these agendas are against the client. Remember, sometimes, as in this case of the client went forth for this particular interview because he thought he would get a lot of money out of it, but his heart was not there, and this particular complex over it, okay, took over, so that that particular interview is botched, so that he comes home and just keeps on reflecting, so that he can sit and reflect, why did I do that? It has to happen, there has to be some alignment. So complexes, this archetypal energies, complexes, drives, and our ego consciousness, we need to sit and align them. So how do we do that in therapy? Okay, there are multiple ways of working with sub personalities that we teach. Okay, that we teach in our training courses. But if you are someone, your first job is to detect that it is a sub personality. First of all, it's not an entire personality of my client, this is not my client, you have to just understand this is not my client. This is someone standing in front of you, sitting in front of you, telling a particular story, and whenever a subpersonality starts telling you a story, you will remember they are stuck in a story, they are still stuck in a story. They don't want to come out of it, they will tell you this happened, but the conscious client will always tell you, ma'am, I want to come out of this. You will see the shift in shifting of the personalities. Okay, so they will always tell you, okay, then she killed, she tried to do this to me, I tried to do this. Did you understand how helpless I am? The environment was so overwhelming, so overwhelming. They did this, she did this, my mother did this, my parents did this. They will be telling you all sorts of things, they will be sitting in anger. There's a prominent emotion, prominent agenda. And what we do when we work with complexes, in Jungian terms, we allow our client to express the complex totally and completely. Why? Because remember, it is unconscious. It is 6,000 times more powerful than the conscious. Okay, conscious mind. So we allow the client to express that particular side. That resistant side is to be allowed. Why? Because it has an agenda. That agenda has to be fulfilled first. Okay, so once that agenda is fulfilled, like imagine the complex is actually is like a person who is not getting expressed. Like that particular agenda wants some level of acknowledgement. If you give that particular acknowledgement to that particular agenda, what will happen? It is now willing to listen to you, है ना? तो अगर भूखे को आप बोलोगे बैठ के बेटा तुम साधना करो, तो वो साधना नहीं कर पाएगा ना. देयर वोंट बी एनी पेनेंस, देयर वोंट बी एनी काइंड ऑफ फर्स्ट पेनेंस. नो स्पिरिचुअल एक्टिविटी won't be able to give it to you, that client. So you have to fill the belly of the person first. So the complexes are, you have to fill their sati center first, then only they will be willing to listen. Then only what will happen, the archetypal energy will find some relief. Okay, thank God, I am accepted. Now what we do in the second stage, we have a discussion. We open the channels of negotiation. It is purely it is almost like an inner child therapy, like gestalt way, where we negotiate. Okay, like it's now where the ego is able to negotiate between the complexes and the id impulses and the super ego. So there are three things happening. So we now bring them up and sit and have a discussion. Now tell us, can we work for the betterment? Can we work in alignment? Because complexes are not always negative, I'm telling you. If there is a person who has a negative father complex, like a child who looked at the father and you could see this father has a lot of dominating energies, and it's very suppressing in nature, suppressing everyone around, a lot of negative effect is coming because of the father. So now the child will have a negative father complex. My father is bad, fathers are bad. This person may be terrorized with the idea that he is going to become a father someday, because he has imbibed a negative father complex. But the beauty of mind is that if there is a negative father complex, there actually will be a positive father complex. That means there will always be another set of complex where positive qualities of the father is there. Okay, so now what we do, we express the negative parts for this client and allow the expression of the positive as well. Because complexes, and in the realm of mind, you cannot be talking only in terms of black and white. You have to express the black, you have to express the white as well. That's what the third eye works like, right? Because there are a lot of people who keep on telling me, please ma'am, help us open our third eye. Third eye is all about two windows, right? Two windows, one door and one, sorry, there is a one door or a one window, but there are two flaps, right? So one flap is the black and another flap is the white. You have to give expression to both the sides in order to transcend it, right? So according to Jung, what he says, if there is a negative effect, negative complex, then you have, as a therapist, you are supposed to sit and try to understand, is your client capable, or is your client ready to notice the positive complex or not? This is something that we do with our clients who have taken in the negatives of their parent, and they believe their life is going to be like this. They have absorbed the belief systems of their parents about them, of the marriage as an institution, and they believe their life is going to be like this. They withhold themselves from marriage, they withhold themselves from a particular job or a particular field, even though it is aligned with them. Okay, so we work through that. We allow the expression of both the negative and the positive in order to transcend it. Why do we transcend it? Because neither the positive nor the negative is the total reality. Okay, if you like this kind of concepts, right, what I want you to do, please like and subscribe. If you have questions, you please put it in the comment section. Remember, I'm going to bring more such things, because there are integrate details of psychotherapy, how we deal with clients. Because if you are able to deal with complexes of your client won't be coming back to you with the same issue. Rather, the client will be like telling other their family and friends about how beautifully you help them, because it is going to release a lot of spiritual energy, a lot of vital energy, because these complexes take away a lot of energy. That's why a client is not able to set a direction in their life. They are procrastinating because so much of energy is trapped here. It always looks like a freeze response, or sometimes looks like a depressive episode, but it actually is a complex that wants some level of expression, some acknowledgement. Hopefully it will come from you. Now, thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and share, and subscribe. And you have some questions, please put it through. I'll make sure I'll answer them.